What is wonderful is that you always sound so confident and you say, well, this is now the anglerfish and this is their particular way of procreating, whatever. How many times are there shots where you just think, I have no idea what we're looking at and we have to take it home and somebody else is going to have to work this out?
Almost, I mean, this is the unromantic thing to say, almost never. Right. The fact is, you should have done your homework. My job is to know what the possibilities are going to happen. You want to know what they are. And you shouldn't be caught unawares. And I don't think I ever have in a serious way. And not only that, you just don't go out into the natural world and say, or into Africa somewhere and say, oh, I'm bound to see something interesting, you know, I'll squirt around. You've got an idea as to what your program is. And you want to know that this is the moment when you want to see what? Monkeys self-anointing, you know, for curing themselves of ears and using special leaves. And you traipse around with that monkey troop, and there's a scientist that who told you about it, and he comes along and helps and says, yes, go down to this troop, they're doing it and what, and you traipse around until you get it. And if they do something else, you don't say, oh, well, I'll forget about the self-anointing, because that's not what you're about. You've got a very strong idea as to what the function, why you are there, and that's what you're after, and that's what you get, and you stay there until you get it.
And you talked about it, I mean, you paid great tribute to the astonishing production team who have won BAFTA. I mean, you've won BAFTAs personally, but they have won BAFTAs as well. Are there any shots that come to mind that you think that was particularly challenging for me and the team? Are there any shots where you think, oh my goodness, I can't quite believe we got that?
Oh yes, I mean lots, because cameramen, you've worked with them, you know, I mean, they are extraordinary people. And when we were working on film, you may be going to try and get some particular shot of, I don't know, a snake doing something or other, and it will be over in a trice, you know, and you don't know whether he's been changing the film or whether it's in focus or whatever, and you say to the cameraman, did you get it? And he either says yes or no, and I've never known them to be one. Not one cameraman has said he's got it when he didn't. Not one.
They absolutely know.
Yeah.
What I think is there must be so many bits that ended up on the cutting room floor that didn't make it to the programme. I just wonder whether those are ever going to be picked up and used for something else.
Yes, well, what they are is actually not quite as good as the shots that you put in. Because if it is a snake or monkey self-anointing, and you may shoot it 3 or 4 times until you're quite sure you've got it right. So that what you left on the cutting room floor is maybe 90% of what you shot, but it's not as good as the 10% that you showed. So you might as well chuck it away. There are occasionally sequences in which you actually you get a very good sequence, but in the end, the overall package of the film, there's no place for it. The film would be too long. And those you do put on the shelf, and those you can bring out and put later, only for the press to say, oh, they didn't shoot all that on that. You know, they shot that last year.
Does that annoy you when you get those kind of critiques?
I think sometimes that people criticise the thing because, you know, we get enough praise. I mean, we do get a lot of praise, and if they say something and particularly if you think it's not deserved, it shouldn't worry you.
And do you keep a note of everything? Have you kept diaries of all the things?
I kept journals, yes. On trips, yes.
Because presumably, I mean, you see so many things, it would be impossible to remember everything.
Yes, absolutely so, and particularly if you're going to write about it. And of course, the thing is, well, I expect you keep diaries, but I only do it on trips. And the trouble is, you do all these programs, you have interview programs, you explain exactly how it was with the gorillas. And after about 10 or 15 years, being absolutely honest about how it happened, you happen to read what actually happened. It wasn't like that at all.
Selective memory. Now, I've got a quick question for the audience. What do Tupac, Elvis Presley, Kate Moss and Sir David Attenborough have in common? Anybody know? The answer is holograms. You now have your very own hologram at the Natural History Museum, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Shall we have a quick exclusive look at it?
Yes.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to London's Natural History Museum. This is part of the herbarium. one of the many rooms in the museum that's usually out of bounds to the public. These cupboards contain thousands of plant specimens, but today there are also some other very special objects from elsewhere in the museum that, for the first time ever, you yourself can handle. So go ahead and pick a drawer.
This is astonishing. What did you think about it when they came and suggested to you what we want you to do is to be a hologram? How did you feel about that?
Oh, I think it's, you know, it's fun doing all these new things. I don't know whether it'll catch on or not, and I don't know how popular it's going to be, but it's fun to do and see how to do it. This is a system of, it is high definition, of course, it's 3 dimensions, of course, and it also, not only that, but it allows you to interact with...
You can pick things up, as it were.
You as viewer can pick things up and look at the object, turn it round, see what the skull looks like, or you can actually enlarge it to a huge size, or you can shrink it in size. So we look at a whale, for example, and you can see how its jaws open and it's how it filters exactly within, as it were, within the mouth. And so this is a group of, but in order to get the hologram, which you saw me, I had to go to Seattle in the United States, which is the head of Microsoft. And there they have you go into a studio which everything is green because you use an optical device which filters out the green when you wish. And there are 309 cameras looking at you, all round. And they take, and you have to speak your spiel, and then they use these 300 odd shots to compile statistically an electronic formula which produces you. And it can then make it do anything. So it looks as though I'm actually in the Natural History Museum, but I'm not. I'm in this, it's just a hologram that's in the museum.
But think of that. You had sometimes one camera with 16mm film, and now you've got more than 300.
Yes, that's right.
Astonishing, doesn't it?
Well, it is, yes. And I mean, it'd be interesting to see where that goes. But then that's what we said in 1952. It'd be interesting to see where this goes.
Well, I have to say I've been to the Natural History Museum many times. I didn't even know there was this cryptogamic herbarium, 780,000 specimens of mosses. What I love is that you don't know which child you're going to wake up to deciding that is the thing that they want to study. Right. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. What do you think this is going to contribute to an audience's experience of natural history?
Natural history? I think it'll produce a one-to-one relationship. That you could actually, I mean, the trouble is when you go into the museum, there's that fossil or that stuffed bird or whatever it is, and that's it. And you can't get closer because there's a glass, and you can't see what the underside of it's like and so on. And so this enables you to take this object and to manipulate it. Look at that upside down. See the underside of a trilobite that hasn't lived for, 450 million years? And then you put it down on the table and it walks away. And so it means that you can have a one-to-one relationship with really important objects. And of course, there are objects that are unique in the world, in New York or in New Zealand or in London. And it means if this spreads, that you'll be able to take and look at these objects in that sort of way and examine in that one-to-one way and get a feeling about it, and which I'm sure will captivate, I'm sure it'll captivate children, but it should captivate everybody. It's fascinating.
Well, I wonder as well whether it'll change the way in which specialists work, because they know somebody is going to be able to do that, to turn it around, and maybe they would look at it differently themselves.
Yes, I think I do. I mean, one of the things we look at in this group that we've just done in the Natural History Museum is the jaw of a pterosaur, the flying reptile that flew above the dinosaurs. And it's the only one in the world. You know, and it's a kind of thing that nobody's ever seen before. And I am sure that there are specialists in pterosaurs biology on the other side of the world who would be thrilled to be able to look at this thing and that, oh yeah, I always wondered just how that tooth, how that fitted into the upper jaw, and you can make it do that, and you can see it, you see. So, I mean, let's not exaggerate. I mean, scientists are very clever people, and they don't actually need all those kind of visual aids. But a lot of lesser people do, like me, you know, and so the thought that I could be able to looking at an object that's in New Zealand Museum, which I was interested in, is lovely.
I'm slightly worried now that people can do it to you now that you're a hologram. Can they move your mouth and just feeling slightly
I've got
anxious?
someone with a hand up my back. Yeah.
How did it feel to see yourself in that way? Was it strange?
Well, I mean, I suppose you ought to say modestly, yes, it's extraordinary. How, you know, it's so worrying and it's upsetting and so on. But the fact of the matter is that if you work in our game, you actually see yourself all the time.
Yes, I've seen myself from hideous angles. That's
but hideous or whatever. There's not much you don't know about the face, the way you are, and if you're working on making programs, you've got these shots in which you do things and you run them backwards and forwards, and so you know this character in there perfectly well. He doesn't really have much connection with what you are, but you know him perfectly well.